and it sort of blocks people. It might be worth, if you guys want to actually follow along, moving up to the chairs where you can see me, because I can't actually like stand anywhere that'll be good for everyone. Yeah. Oh. So I'm Joseph, for everyone who can see me and hear me. I've worked out of this year spent 6 months at Google. Even most of my friends have lost track whether or not I'm working at Google at any given moment now. So I've worked for 6 months at Google. I did an internship at the start of the year, another one the year before, and then I've spent 3 months recently as a contractor. I started a week before Wave got cancelled, so it's for me been a very interesting time to be on the team. So originally the spec for this session, I was going to be explaining how to set up your own wave server on some domain and get it federating and everything else. But talking to a couple of people, it kind of seems like a lot of people don't have the code running even on their laptops. So I might just spend sort of 5 minutes showing how to set that up. Unfortunately, I'm not going to show you how to set it up on Windows because it's still a bit of a pain in the ass. But I can quickly show you on my Mac, and it's exactly the same on Linux. So for the,
Can I just point out that there is some documentation for installing on Windows, and Anthony Watkins has done a lot of the hard pull on that, on setting that stuff up as well.
Yeah.
I do all of my development on Windows.
Sorry?
I do all my development on Windows.
Yeah.
It's actually very easy.
Yeah. It all works. Thankfully, it's all Java, and we've got some people who are.
For the console, which just looks like.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, if you set it all up, it does work. But I mean, you've got to grab a run script from somewhere. I never did commit that one to the repository that I made to help people with that. So I'll quickly show you how to set it up, the code, and get it running on my Mac for the people who have Macs in the audience, which isn't a huge number of you, unfortunately. If you've got Linux, then it's similar. And then I'll go on to show everyone how to run a server like hosted. So I'm just going to show you from completely raw, plain Linux system running on SliceHost how to get a server which federates up and running. I'm going to be moving reasonably quickly, so if you can't follow along, don't worry about it. We're going to be spending time this afternoon after all the sessions, and tomorrow afternoon after all the sessions where we're going to be available. And if you want to set up and give it a try doing everything, then there'll be people around who can help you out. And show you stuff. And all the documentation's up there. All I'm really going to be doing is taking this wave that I've shared with everybody and copying and pasting the commands one by one into the console, and then doing them. So you should be able to use it and get everything working. So before I start, are there any questions? Yeah. The question was undo seems to be broken. I can't help you with that, unfortunately. Maybe you can chat to Alex or Soren later. Alex is the guy who's still rudely chatting behind that pillar. But yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry, I can't help you right now with that. Okay, so I'll quickly show you how to get everything working on my Mac. So that's sort of so. To be able to federate, I should mention as well, you need a bunch of different things to be working. I'm going to write them on this whiteboard, even though not everyone can see the whiteboard, which is annoying. But they're listed at the top of that wave. To get the server running, you don't need much. You need a server, you need Java, you need the code, you need to build it, you need to run it. It'll run a server. You can connect to it using your browser. To federate, you need the following things. You need XMPP, which is a Java server, and you need this for the servers to communicate to each other. You're going to need a domain name, and you're going to need to be able to edit that domain name. You're going to need an SSL certificate. There's a website that hands out free SSL certificates, which is startssl.com. If you want to use their certificates, you need to register, but they're free, which is nice. Ultimately, you can get an SSL certificate any way that you can get an SSL certificate. So you can pay somebody money and get one, use one there.
There are a certain amount of SSL providers which are recognized by Java.
Okay.
Not all of them are. CA certificates aren't.
Okay. Yeah, James just pointed out that not all SSL providers are recognized by Java, so it might be worth checking that before paying someone money for an SSL certificate. If you want to use the Start SSL certificates, you're also going to need to be able to receive email at your domain, so you're going to need email setup. I've set this up just using Google Apps. You can get a free Google Apps domain, Google Apps thing and connected it up to your domain so long as you can add MX records to your domain name, which you're going to need to be able to do anyway to set up the XMPP stuff. And that lets them verify that you really do have that domain, and they'll hand you out an SSL certificate that you can use for Wave in a Box. So all of that stuff is a bit of a pain in the ass to configure and set up, but I'll run you through it quickly how to do it now. But first of all, let's get a simple server running on my laptop. So to get a simple server running, we're going to need not very much. If you've got a Mac, then the only thing you really need to download is Mercurial. James has got pages up on the wiki that show you how to install that. Unfortunately, I wasn't prepared to show you how to install Mercurial, but it's reasonably easy. I think you can download it and install it. Once it's installed in your terminal, you should just be able to go HG, and you'll see Mercurial spitting out a whole bunch of stuff. Is this big enough for you guys at the back to read? Yeah? Cool. Okay, because I got magic buttons that make it bigger and smaller. So the step one for wherever you install it is to download and build Mercurial. Download and build the code. So on my Mac, I'm just going to grab this line which says to grab the source code repository. And if you go to the code page, there's I just copy and pasted this from code.google.com/waveprotocol. And if you click checkout, it'll give you this line to copy paste. So I can paste that in there. And what that does is going to grab the most recent version of all the source code from our code site, and then I can build it. Yo.
I've downloaded it before, and then I want to update, and I've done like HG space UP, but it just like stays the same version.
Right. Yeah, so Mercurial is a little bit different from Subversion and CVS. Exactly as James said. You go HG pull and then go HG update. It's a two-step process.
Or you can do HG pull and add dash U at the end of it, and it doesn't look the same.
Yeah, there you go.
You can do an eclipse and let it do it.
Yeah.
Right. So this will be done soon. So for all of the other stuff, I've got a SliceHost account, and I'm just going to nuke this. So this is my wavebang.com wave server, which is currently working, and it looks like this, and I've got waves and so on. So I'm just going to nuke the entire machine that's running on. Rebuild. So I was trying to set this up using Ubuntu 10.4 last night, but I was having trouble. But it seems to work fine with 10.10. I think it might have something to do with the version of Procity that I was trying to use. I don't really know. Federation is still a little bit flaky, so some things just don't work when they should sometimes, and sometimes you need to restart your server. So I apologize about this. I apologize for this. We're going to try and make this work a lot better in the next little while. But if it magically stops working for you, then it might not be your fault. It might actually be our fault. And you should make a lot of noise on the mailing list saying that it's not working. And hopefully people will start to get all this stuff fixed. So I'm going to hit rebuild, and this is going to build a new Ubuntu Maverick instance and blow up all of the data on my old one. If you want to do this from scratch, then if you sign up for SliceHost, then you can just click, on my slice, I would like, Maverick. And this is going to give me a new instance, and I can log into it like that. Meanwhile, though, Mercurial is done. So once you've typed in that command, it's going to make a new directory called wave-protocol that you guys can't see at all because of the colors. Let me fix that. How do I fix that? Anyway, there's a directory called wave protocol there now. I can go into that and I can type in @. If you type in @, by default now it's going to build everything that you need, and it'll all just work, which is nice. So, and this does take a little while though. So it takes about 5 minutes on SliceHost, and it might take a little bit longer on my brand new laptop because it's got a little processor from a few years ago. But yeah, so you type in @ and it'll start compiling. So I'm going to start multitasking. I'm sorry if that confuses people, because this will take a good 6 or 7 minutes.
Which of the Ubuntus did you use? The 3-bit
So
or the...
I use the 64-bit one. I use the default, but it shouldn't matter which one you use. But use 10.10. Use the most recent one. Don't use the previous Ubuntu image. So what this does is it first of all compiles the server, and then it expands a whole bunch of Java files into a big directory, and then it collapses them back down into some other jars. So this is on my list of things that I should want to fix when I get around to it, because it's quite slow. But the thing that really takes time is compiling the client. So when it says compile GUID, this starts compiling the console client, and it's slow. All right, so meanwhile, so we've got our new box, and I'm going to be able to log into this using my new root password. So if I go to my other tab, I'm going to SSH as root at, sorry? Well, I'll start off logging in as root because there's no users on the machine. So I'll log into root at that machine, and oops, I logged into it before and it's generated a new certificate, so I just need to delete a file. If you do this from scratch, you won't have this problem. Ignore the man behind the curtain. I'm sure I want to connect, and the password is this. And I've got a brand new box running. That color is not so good, but I've got a terminal that I can do stuff with. So I'm going to start going through the instructions on this wave, and I'm pretty much not going to deviate from this. So if you want to follow along, then open up the wave and you can do stuff. So first of all, I've typed in SSH root at the IP so that I can log into it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a user because, as James says, logging in and using your machine as root is actually quite naughty. So I'm going to add a new user called Joseph G, and I'm going to add it into the sudo group, which is going to let me be able to have administrative privileges on Linux. So this creates me. I'll give it a password, and it's going to ask me for my name and stuff, but I don't care. So once that's set up, then I can log out, and then I can log back in again as myself. So if you're doing this from Windows, you can grab a program called, who's on Windows at the moment? Is that a lot of people? Yeah, a few. Okay. You can get a program called Putty that lets you be able to connect via SSH if you're not comfortable doing this stuff. So now I'm going to log in as me, and hey presto, cool, I'm me. I'm just going to type this command to make sure that I have administrative privileges. Sudo means please do this as the root user, as the super user. Who am I means which user am I now, and if I type in my password, it should say that I am indeed. If I ask it to do something that's with administrative privileges, I'm the root user. So that's good. All right, we're good. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install a whole bunch of packages, and these are all the packages that I'm going to install. I'll explain them. So this means install packages. Default-JDK means to install OpenJDK or Ubuntu's default Java runtime environment, and development kit. So that stands for Java Development Kit. Mercurial is the program we need to be able to download all the source code. Eventually, we're going to make it so that you can just click on the download link on the website. But at the moment, that's quite out of date because we're moving quite quickly. So I prefer to grab everything from source. Ant is the tool we use to build. So that's going to build everything for us. MongoDB we're going to use to have a persistent user store, and hopefully the data store is going to start using Mongo at some stage, although at least at first it's going to be using files. Procity is the Jabber server or XMPP server, so we need this for federation. And finally I'm going to get screen so that I can launch it and run it and leave it running even when I'm not logged in. So
Just one point to make, depending which version of Ubuntu you're using, like I've got the older 8.04.
Yeah.
It's tied to ant7.170, which will not work for new build.xml.
Okay.
Get at least ant7.1.7.1.
And which version?
1.7.1.
Okay.
Minimum version of ant.
Okay. So the comment was for people on video and stuff. Apparently, if you use an older version of Ubuntu, for example, like 8.04, the default version of Ant isn't recent enough to be able to build the code. You need at least version 1.7.1 to be able to build everything. So yeah, that's annoying. So I'm going to type in that, and this is going to take a little while, but not too long, because it's going to download 122 new packages. But it's still fast in the building. So while that's going, I should be able to, right, so my build is finished, and actually, hey, that's cool, it's still faster than the image on, on SliceHost. This is one of the brand new Macs. I'm very happy with it, so, yeah. I'm not getting paid by Apple on the side, although one of my friends works there. So, all right, so now this is running, so it's built. I can just go /run-server, and it's going to run the wave server completely with all the default configuration settings, and this just works. So if you haven't made a configurations file yourself, you can just run it and it should just work. And you can tell when it works because you see this thing. If this is a bit smaller, it looks like that, and that's my sort of mental cue for, it's running and it's all happy. Sometimes you see giant stack traces, and if you see that, then it's bad, and that means it's not working, you've done something wrong. But if you see this, like, lots of, slash website things are all hooked up, then you're golden. So once that's running, by default, it's going to be running on localhost :9898. And if I go to that, then it's not working. No, okay. By default, it's running on my external IP, not localhost. Yeah, my hostname /9898. So this is working. The default user store at the moment is still the fake user store, I think. Is it? Okay. All right, cool. So I can register a new user then. So I'm going to register the ASDF user with no password. Cool, registration complete. I'm going to sign in, ASDF, and woo, ASDF at Ceph's Mac, which is my laptop. Create a new wave, and I can talk to myself, which is cool. Yeah, so that just works. So if you want to do development, that's how easy it is to set it up and get it up and running. Yeah. I don't know what that's about. I don't want to know. All right, so meanwhile, it's installed all of these packages. And so a whole bunch of things are installed now, including Mongo, and you can test all of this works if you want to. So for example, I can use Mongo, and it'll say, whoop, I'm connected to Mongo, if you want to, but you don't need to. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is check out the source code. And this is exactly the same as what I just did on my laptop, so I'm going to do that. I wonder if internet's any faster than it is over Google Guest. I think it is. Any other questions while we wait?
There's a question. Has anyone used Amazon images for this? Is there any reason why it wouldn't work?
The question was, has anyone used Amazon images for this? Is there any reason why it would or wouldn't work? I haven't. I don't know if anyone has. I suspect it should work. You have? It's good?
You just have to set up the security. So it's all the ports that you want. But yeah, I've got a better interface for anyone else.
Did you use a particular machine image or just type into?
I used I work for Oracle, so I used an Oracle Enterprise Linux image.
Okay. Great.
So that means Red Hat or CentOS or Fedora. I think anything particular.
No, there's nothing special about Ubuntu, I think. That list of all the packages will be different on different operating systems, but it should all be fine. I mean, it runs on Mac OS and Windows as well, so different flavors of Linux should be fine, and yeah. And so the answer for people who are on video is that, yes, it does work, but you need to configure the security settings and the ports and everything else, but it runs fine. So now I'm going to build, and it'll take a little bit longer, I think, apparently. So for me, on this box, it seems to take about 6 minutes to compile everything, and that includes the client. When you're doing development, this is a real pain in the ass, but thankfully you don't actually have to compile everything when you're doing development. There's a couple things you can do which speed it up a lot. The first one is that if you set up Eclipse properly, and hopefully, yeah, grab me after, or we can show you how to set up Eclipse properly. I think Leonard's going to run you through quickly how to set it up. Set up part of it. If you set up Eclipse, Eclipse will actually automatically build every time you save any file. So you can just develop in Eclipse, and then you can hit the run button, and it'll just run instantly. You don't have to wait for any build or anything, at least for the server. For the client, you still need to compile some of the GUID bits, but there's a hosted mode GUID, which will compile on the fly. Is ZD around? Yeah. So the person to ask about getting hosted mode GUID working is ZD. This guy back there. He helped me out, and I couldn't figure it out because I thought it was complicated. But yeah, we should also have instructions up somewhere on the site. Do we have instructions somewhere? Okay, well, ZD can hopefully get instructions up as if enough people bug him about it this week.
We'll definitely run through it on Thursday.
Sorry?
We will definitely run through it on Thursday completely for coding.
Great, yeah, we'll run through it all completely on Thursday when we have the coding session. Cool. Okay, so while that's going, I'm going to talk about a couple other things. So, as I showed you on my laptop, if you want to just get the server up and running, then this is pretty much all we need to do, and I can run it. So I'm going to run you through Federation. So for Federation, we need a bunch of different things. we're going to need a domain. So I've got this domain here, which is my configuration for wavebang.com. I've already registered it. I've already set up, as you can see, the MX record, which lets me receive email on this domain. And I've set that up and pointed that to google.com, so to a Google Apps domain, because this is free and I could do it. You're going to need to be able to receive email on either webmaster at your domain or postmaster at your domain. So I set this up by going manage this domain and making my username an alias for webmaster in the Google Apps configuration stuff. It'll be different if you use different email providers. I can show you how to do that later if you want to. I've also obviously got SliceHost, which is running the actual server. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the IP address because I don't want to have to keep copying and pasting it. And I'm going to make a new DNS record in my domain so that I can just type in wavebang.com and it's going to take me straight there. So I'll do this while it's compiling. So the subdomain is nothing. The different DNS things will look slightly different, so don't worry. I want an A record, which means that this is the authoritative record for this domain, and I want wavebang.com to point to this IP address, which is the IP address of my server. So I'll save that, and now you can see that here. That's the IP address of my SliceHost server, and from my terminal on my machine, but not from the, we haven't installed the tools here, but from Linux you can type in dig wavebang.com to see if it works, and this should hopefully say, it might take a minute to refresh, unfortunately. Anyway, at some stage soon we'll be able to, or go ping wavebang.com. Might take a couple minutes for that to ripple through, but when it does, we should be able to go to wavebang.com and it'll all work. It was working instantly yesterday, which is a shame. Okay, so we're nearly finished with the compiling bit. So I want to set that up, and that's going to be useful. Another thing that we're going to need to be able to have access to is start SSL certificates. So I mentioned this before the talk. To be able to, oops, I'm going to just go to the main page on this. To be able to get an SSL certificate, you can get free SSL certificates from Start SSL, and this is really useful. Unfortunately, it doesn't work in Chrome, so if you want to use this site, you need to use it either from Safari or I think Firefox. It's due to a bug in Chrome, not a bug on the site. The way they use authentication stuff isn't supported by Chrome. So yeah, so what you want to do when you go here is click on Sign Up. And you can fill out all of your personal details, and then they give you, so I'm not going to show you that, I've already done it, it's a pain. Annoying site. You type in all of your details, and they're going to give you a download link. So what you have to do is you download it, and you're going to get a little download link with some randomly named file, and on the Mac you can just double click on that file, and it'll open it up in Keychain, so like this. Boom, and there it is, Start SSL, start.com free certificate, and then you can close that and it's all good, and it works. So I'm just going to delete that again. But don't delete it, that's just because of my weak configuration. Are we done yet? So yeah, we'll get there.
How much RAM have you got on the machine?
So this machine has 512 megs of RAM, but it might work with 256 megs, which is no good? Okay. I decided that I wanted 512 megs of RAM for...
That's what I run at home, and it usually takes about 12 minutes to build.
Okay. Maybe this is RAM limited then. Yeah, could well be. But it's getting there, which is nice. When you see this compiling permutations thing, it's good. There's also another trick which is really useful when you're developing. If you want to build the GWT client, you can type in ant space compile _GWT _dev. Maybe I'll write that down on the whiteboard, or maybe I could write it in the wave. If you want to, you can go compile, compile GWT _ant I'll write it down. And that does a development build, which will build much more quickly, and it also gives you a console underneath at the bottom of the client, which lets you see debugging information. So if ever the client crashes for some reason, it's quite useful for us to be able to see that log. Yeah, there we go. It's this. Come on, faster. So where's everyone from? Is most people from the States? So who's not from the US? Okay. You guys are from Australia and the Netherlands. You're from Germany? Okay. Finland? Singapore? Anyone else? Oh, international people. Is my accent annoying to understand for you guys?
I find it terrible.
Yeah, I've had some American friends who I pretend to speak in an American accent for. It's probably terrible and really patronizing, but it's
We have to put up with Americans trying to pretend to do Australian accents, so why can't we do it the same way around?
yeah. So yeah, I can pretend to be an American if you like. I don't know.
Do it.
Okay.
Unmute.
Yeah.
Is this being streamed too? This part of it?
Yes. Yes, it should all be streamed.
And so what's the link to the stream? It's to the. Well, I posted in the WordPress over.
So yeah, the question was, is this being streamed as well? And if you're subscribed to the Wave-Protocol mailing list, then Pamela sent an email.
Or you can check our Twitter account, Google Wave Dev.
Yeah, Gmail doesn't really render very well like this apparently.
What's that? Google Wave Dev? Google Wave Dev. Google Wave Dev.
I could open this up and watch a video of myself. But yeah, so we've got a video which is working. Recursive. Oh, an ad. Let's not watch that. Okay. This was a lot faster when I did this last night. It's kind of annoying. I don't know why that is. So I'm sorry about the wait. Are there any other questions while we wait? Yeah.
Can you explain certificates?
Sure. What was the other question? I'll do a couple at a time.
MongoDB, that's something you will set for configuration, or in the current build 650?
So that question was, which is an easier question. I'll explain it still in a minute. The question was, MongoDB, do you need separate configuration for that? The current build by default will look for MongoDB running on the local machine. And if you just install it on Linux, then it will run on the local machine on the default port. So it doesn't need any configuration at all if you just want to use the regular plain old settings. So you can just install it and it'll just work and everything's fine. So our build finally succeeded. Woo! It took 8 minutes, which was longer. And the GUID part of it took, 475 seconds, whatever that is, which is probably most of it. But if we look in our directory now, we've got all the files that I had on my laptop, and I can go run-server, and there we go. It's doing that thing where it works. Let's see if wavebang.com is working. That's really annoying. I hope that's not going to be annoying later. Good old demo bugs. So I should be able to now go to the domain. Unfortunately, because the DNS record hasn't updated yet, I'm not going to be able to type in wavebang.com, but I can type in the IP :9898, and up I get our brand new Wave in a Box instance. So I can register a new account, and I'm going to register Seth@wavebang.com with no password. Don't steal my account. And I can log in, and there we go. Just like on my laptop, we've got Wave in a Box running. Which is cool. But this won't federate. You'll notice as well that it says Ceph@boxtest1, which is the name of this computer. So that's not what I want, because I want this to be running on wavebang.com. Also, this currently, the default is set not to use the new socket.io code, which, who wrote the socket.io code? Are you here?
The JavaScript part was written by Guillermo Rauch, and the server part was written by me.
Hey, cool. All right, so, yeah, we don't have, what's your name again, sorry?
Tad.
We don't have Tad's, Tad or Ted?
Tad.
Tad. We don't have Tad's new socket.io code running by default, so this also won't work in Firefox. So these things we can fix pretty easily by doing some configuration. So that was running. So configuration. So the first thing I'm going to do is copy the example configuration file across to run-config.sh. So if I kill this with Control-C, so I'm going to copy run-config.sh example to run-config.sh, and then I'm going to edit it using my favorite editor. You can use whatever you like. And I'm just going to set an option so you guys can read that. Okay, so this is the big long configuration file for Wave in a Box. There's a lot of things in here that you can just completely ignore, which is nice. We should probably mark them somewhere. You also can't see my cursor there, but at the moment I'm on this line here. So the first thing I'm going to change is the Wave server domain name. Actually, no, the first thing I'm going to do is remove these 2 lines. If you leave these 2 lines in, it breaks and says, hey, stop, you need to configure this before running it. So I'm just going to delete those 2 lines. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to change the Wave server domain name instead of being example.com to being wavebang.com. Alright, so the public IP address is currently set to whatever your computer name is, :9898. If you want to make this run on port 80 or something, you can, if you want to, you can change it here and then run the service as the root user, but this is frowned upon. When we have good run configuration, like startup scripts for Linux and so on, then hopefully those scripts will automatically run it on whatever port you want. So, but for now, it's probably best just to leave it on port 9898. So I'm going to leave that alone. What other things did I say in my wave? Because I should follow my own notes. So I've changed my domain name. If I want to, I can do the public IP address, so hostname :80. I'm also going to have to come down here for now and say enable federation equals false, which is sad, but it'll crash when it starts up if I haven't configured all the things I need to do for federation. So I'll disable federation, and I'm also going to come down here and so what kind of user store do we have at the moment? Okay, at the moment the user account store is memory, which means every time the server restarts, you lose all of your users that have been set up, which is kind of annoying. It does this for all the waves as well, which is sort of more annoying, but we should fix this really soon now. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to change this to say MongoDB. And use socket.io, which is the new code from TAD, equals true. So this means it should work on Firefox, and the account store MongoDB means it'll remember my user account, so I won't have to type it in every time. So I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to run it with run server again. And
How do you stop the server?
Control C.
I tried it and I tried to do it again. It said web stopping, so like some stuff behind here.
It shouldn't leave anything behind. What operating system? Gentoo? It should be okay. I don't know. You can go kill Java or something if you want to.
Control C seems to be working for me, so
For those that wanted, I do have a daemon script that I'm using on a book too, so I can just type /das way start.
if you go to daemon start script or start stop script, that'll be great.
Yeah.
Post it as a mailing sheet.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
And then you can tweak whoever's using it, because there's some, it's also a script I added in. I don't call the run server directly.
Yeah.
I call wrapper scripts that redirect out to a log file.
Okay.
Shove it up on the mailing list.
So yeah, the comment was Tad's got a run script for Ubuntu, which works. So yeah, make up a code review. We'd welcome it in the code base somewhere. If you're happy to maintain that, throw it up and make a code review.
Yeah.
Make up a patch.
Look at it and see if it's
Yeah.
needs some
I
tweaking.
can,
Push
yeah.
that.
That'd be cool. All right, so I'm going to register my Ceph user again because I changed the user store. And now I can sign in, and this will now be persistent, so I can sign in as me with no password. Notice it now says ceph@wavebang.com, which is the domain I configured, and so this is a bit better. Did somebody just log in as me and make a wave? Hi, Alex. No, Alex logged in as himself and added me onto the wave, so I can talk to Alex, and I should be able to as well. Load this up from Firefox, which is exciting for me. And log in as myself. Oh. Cool, thanks, Pamela. Yeah, so it's all working and it's all, wavy. But ching. All right. Leave Pamela to play around with that. Well, I get back to work. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys how to set up federation. So this is where we need to do all of those bits. So the first thing we need to do is DNS, because this can take some time to set up itself. So I'm going to set up, you need to set up an SRV record, which looks like this. There's instructions on the wiki, on the code review page on one of the wikis on how to do all of this and what it all means and everything else. And the same is true for pretty much this entire document. So if it doesn't work, or if you are curious about why that command looks like it does, then feel free to go on the wiki page and look it up, or just bug any of us during this session, or post on the Wave Protocol mailing list and people can help you out. For me, this is going to look like this. I'll come in here, I'll add a new record. The type is server, and I need to paste, so the subdomain is that, which is a magical XMPP subdomain, which is going to make the Java server be able to work. And in the destination field, I copy and paste all of this stuff. So the final entry is the final two entries are the port that the Java server is running on and and your server's domain. So this server is just wavebang.com, so I can just type in wavebang.com here, and I can save. You can also type in the IP address of the server. I think that works too. Oh. I have a space at the end of that. Cool. And now the SRV record is configured, which is nice. It'd be really nice if these domains started working. No, no good. Oh, it was all working basically instantly last night, so I apologize. Federation may not work by the end of this talk. If I go to the SRV record now as well, I should be able to, if it was going to work instantly. That, then that is working, which is nice. So the server record is pointing to wavebang.com, but wavebang.com is unfortunately pointing nowhere.
You just have to wait for it to propagate through.
Yeah, I'll just have to wait for it to propagate. So unfortunately, Federation won't work until then, which is sad. All right, so the next thing I'm going to configure is XMPP. So this is the Java server. But before I do, I'm going to answer Pamela's question because I'm sorry, I forgot about you. So you were curious about how SSL worked?
Yeah, just generally.
Okay. So SSL is the encryption technology. SSL certificates, so it lets two parties communicate to each other securely. The reason why certificates are needed is because I can just pretend to be anybody and then say, hey, I'm me, here, start an encrypted session. So you need a certificate which is signed by a trusted third party. So the third party says, yes, these encryption keys are really from Joseph. And then I can encode things using those keys and everyone else can decrypt them. And they know it's definitely from me because I'm the only one who knows how to encrypt keys from Joseph. So we use SSL in a whole bunch of different places in Wave in a Box, or at least we intend to. Some things aren't working just yet. The most important place is that we sign all of the deltas. So when you send a delta, I type some text in a wave, every keystroke that I press, it gets signed using my server certificate. So my server says, yes, that really was Joseph typing those keys. And when it sends them on to wavesandbox.com or to acmewave.com or wherever, those other servers can check and make sure, and they can tell that those keystrokes were really sent by my wave server, and my wave server is saying that it was sent by me. So that gives you all the nice security properties that Wave has. SSL is also used between the servers to be able to do the XMPP connection. But unfortunately, that's not working on wavesandbox.com at the moment. So I'm not going to show you guys, I'm not going to set that up so that wavesandbox.com Federation works. But of course, if you turn that off, then it means that there's potential for abuse and listening to ops in the middle.
Can you try and see if you can put the volume up so
Oh, is this my louder here? Oh, am I any louder now? Whoa.
Yes, you are.
Is that good? Okay, cool. Testing. Sounds echoey. All right. Yeah, so we use it there, and also SSL should be working from your browser and the Wave in a Box server. But again, and that's why I use the HTTPS in googlewave.com, but that's still not working in the federating server. Okay, so that's all set up. So let's set up XMPP. So there's a bunch of different XMPP servers. I'm going to show you setting it up in ProCity because that definitely works. So I've installed ProCity and it's running already at the moment just from having been in that apt-get line. So I'm going to have to edit the config file for that. So I'm going to kill the server and I'm going to type in, I didn't say it in here. I'm going to go sudo, so do as the root user, actually I'm just going to become the root user. So sudo-i means become the root user. Actually, again, in my favorite editor, vim/etc/procity.config.lua. Let's just copy and paste that into the wave for everybody else. So this is the procity configuration file, and it contains all sorts of stuff that we can just completely ignore. So the first thing I'm going to do is, well, I'm going to copy and paste all this stuff. Component-ports means which port does the wave in a box server communicate on to the procity server, and I paste that up here. Oh, yeah, sorry, sure. Yeah, there you go. Sorry about that. So listen on that port. I'm going to disable TLS in procity, because if you don't, then it doesn't federate, at least with Wave Sandbox. So you can disable things by commenting them out, which is the -- thing that you see in all the comments above. So then I'm going to do these things. I'm just going to copy and paste these lines. So this says that there is a new, and I'll do this right down the bottom. Oops. So we can do it, say here. So this says that there's a new component called wave.wavebang.com, which is going to connect to you. It's secret, so the procity server, the Java server, and your server need to have a shared password that only those two know. And my password is going to be internets. And you have to just pick some password and copy and paste it both in the configuration for the Java server and in the wavebang server's configuration file. Finally, wavebang.com as a domain, it's enabled. So you're going to be serving wavebang.com waves. You should know. So we'll write that, and then we'll quit that, and then I'm going to restart procity. So do that like this. Procity restart, and that's just going to restart the server. I didn't see that last time. All right. Once we've edited that, then we can restart procity. All right. So then I'm going to have to put this password into my my wave in a box config file. I need to tell it that the place where the wave, where the XMPP server is the local machine, and the secret is internets. So I'm going to stop being the root user and start just being me again. So I hit Control D to do that. And I'm going to, once again, go down to where the XMPP server secret is. It's not Open Sesame, it's instead internets. And the server IP, for some reason, yeah, this doesn't work. But if we say that it's just on the local machine, then it works fine. You can leave all of the other stuff. Don't worry about it saying XMPP server ping wavesandbox.com. That's all fine. All right. So now if we do that, then that's the XMPP part. So SSL certificates. So we're going to need the SSL certificate so the server can sign messages. So there's a little script that checks to see whether or not your certificates are all set up properly, which is the check certificates script. So this is going to tell me what's currently broken in the certificates. So if I run this, first of all, it's going to say that there's random configuration option set to false and it needs to be set to true. So let's just go in and fix that. Oh, it's set to true and it needs to be set to false. There's a comment about it later on in the wave. Okay, and if I run that again, it's gonna say that all my keys don't exist. So I'm going to need some SSL certificates. I'm going to need some SSL keys. And I get these from the Start SSL site. So I've already signed up, and I've already clicked on that thing, so I can click the Authenticate button. And this is going to log me into the Start SSL site as the user that I've created. Thank you. Howdy, Joseph Gentle. Thanks for choosing Start SSL. Blah, 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 blah. So there's two things that you need to do here. The first one is you need to prove to the start SSL site that you really own the domain that you've specified. And the second one is you need to actually get the certificate. So you need to click on these things up here in the opposite order. So the first thing you need to do is open up the validation wizard to validate that you own it. So I'm going to, and I should mention as well that I'm just following along now. So I'm doing this a little bit out of order. I'm coming down to the start SSL dance bit here. So I'm going to go validations wizard, domain name validation. Continue. Enter the domain name. So the domain name that I want is going to be wavebang.com. And hit continue. What this is going to do is it's going to send me an email, and the email is going to say, hey, here's a code, and I'm going to copy and paste that code back into the website. So I need to be able to access one of these 4 email addresses, but I'm going to access the webmaster@wavebang.com address, and it's going to send me an email. So if I go back to my email, there we go. I can copy and paste this in. Validation success. I've authenticated the domain wavebang.com. So now this site will be able to give me certificates. So I can finish that off, and I can go to the certificates wizard. So now we're up to the next little bit in the wave, down here. So I need a web server SSL/TLS certificate. Okay, so I'm going to need a key. So I'm going to just jump back up here to these arbitrary OpenSSL commands now and show you them. So what I'm going to need to do is generate a secret on my server, and then I'm going to use that key that then I'm going to get the OpenSSL server to sign and say, yes, this really is, wavebang.com that generated this key. So I need to execute these commands, and this is slightly different from what's in the wiki page, but it does all exactly the same thing. So don't fret if it looks different. So the first one says generate me a key. And it's going to ask me for a password. This password doesn't matter at all, so I'm just going to type in like AAA or something. AAAA. And then I'm going to copy and paste in these lines. So it's going to generate me a key called encrypted.key, and then this one is going to say take the key and turn it into a slightly different format. AAAA. Okay. And this one says take the key and decrypt it and produce a this one says take the key and produce a certificate signing request. So produce something that I can ask start SSL to sign. Okay. Okay, country code, full name. So you can enter in stuff and all of this stuff. Start SSL doesn't actually check any of it, but most of the certificate registry authorities will. But really, really, really important is not that, common name, i.e. your name. The common name field must, otherwise everything is going to break and it won't work. Be wave.whateveryourdomain.com. Actually, if you don't do any of these steps, it won't work, so I guess there's no point emphasizing any particular step. It's got to be wave.whatever your domain name is. Wavebang.com. And then
actually, the sort of SSL server will whack everything you type in there and ask you. One of the last steps is it says you must provide a subcomponent for your domain. So in my case, domain is clients.com.
Yep.
That's what I validated. This little box, but I have to type wave in there.
Yeah.
If I don't do that, it won't work.
Yeah.
It basically gives you a subdomain plus a starter certificate.
Yeah. It'll put clients.com and wave.com in the certificate.
Yeah.
But it whacks everything you put in the certificate.
Yeah, but I think your certificate also has to say that domain as well in it, like the wave.whateveryourdomain.com.
I've never tried to compare to see what would happen. I just know that they claim that they drop everything from the certificate except.
Right. I think they just don't check it. Anyway, yeah, cool. You guys can't see much of the files, but the important file here is this request.csr file, which was generated. Yeah, thanks for that, by the way. Yeah, it's good. So the request.csr file is the request that we're going to generate and get SSL to sign. SSL.key is our actual key. And I can actually look at these, but they're not going to be that meaningful. That's the key. Woo! And this is the request. So the request is a bit smaller. So what I'm going to do is go back to this start SSL site. So it can generate me a private key, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to skip that step because I've already generated my own. And I get to copy and paste my CSR file in there. So I'm going to take this and including the bits in the top and bottom, copy and paste that in there and hit continue. And it's gonna ignore all the fields except for, I'm pretty sure it does check the common name field and says it received it. Continue. So the wavebang domain is the one that I'm going to be adding and using, and in here I have to type in wave.wavebang.com as well. So this is the domain that that it's going to sign me for. And so whenever all my deltas are going to be signed for wave.wavebang.com, which is what they have to be, wave.whatever.com. So this is going to throw me up an error because I've already done this before yesterday. But for you guys, it's going to say, thanks. Here's another text box that you can copy and paste out. And what you do is you copy and paste that file back out into a file that's sitting on your server. And the way that you do that is you go cat to, let me check my notes. You go cat to start ssl.crt, and then you copy and paste all of the junk that it gives you, and then you hit Control D at the end, which means I'm done. And so that's going to generate me the certificate file. But because I did it myself before, I'm going to have to copy the files over from my computer. If only I had some stand to hold this microphone in. So this is going to copy in my files to wavebang.com. Maybe it'll work. Hey, the domain's working, I think. Yeah, okay. So it's copied some keys that here's some I prepared earlier. Copied some keys in, and I'm just going to copy those keys into this directory. Okay, so those are the keys I made, but for you, you want to create your own key files, and you need to create the key files yourself the first time. So the .crt file is the certificate itself. And once I've done that, I need to do one final step, which is to tell the configuration stuff that that's where the keys are. And I also need to get this. So the key is signed by another key, which you need to have for it all to work. So I'm going to type in that command, which is going to download a little file from the StartSSL website, which is another key. I can type in this, which says, please verify that the key that I have with that other certificate file will work. And it says, yep, it's all signed and everything's hunky-dory. Don't think I've ever used the word hunky-dory before.
You say oakley-doakley when you shoot.
All right. Okay, so my private key file, this I called ssl.key, and my certificate file name list has to be, and even though it looks like you only put one thing here, you actually have to put in both the certificate file and that other little file we just downloaded. So ssl.crt and that other file, which is called that. Okay, and now if I run check certificates, it should say success. All the certificates are good. Are there any questions with that whole SSL bit? I know everyone seems kind of asleep and tired and bored, and it is a very boring, dry process. I apologize for that. Unfortunately, it's important for crypto stuff, which is important for security. Is everyone happy, or at least ambivalent about the whole next game? Cool. Yeah. 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 It's on Ustream, and it's also being recorded, as far as I know.
So we'll be publishing on YouTube versions of the videos that are higher quality than the Ustream ones. Yeah, it'll probably take me a couple days to get them up on YouTube after. So right now I'm just posting links to the slides and stuff, but we're recording everything.
Yeah, so the question was, are all these videos being recorded so that you can just watch all this stuff later when you're actually doing it? And the answer is yes. We'll put up high quality videos which are being recorded by that little camera over there for you guys to watch and click, and watch and then hit pause every time I do anything. Okay, so now that certificates are set up, so I should be able to run my server. Oh, and I also should that would have been really bad. Enable federation equals true. So this should turn that on. Run server.sh. Nothing works the first time in a demo. So now the server's running again, and federation should be enabled on it. So if I go back to wavebang.com, those waves don't exist anymore, remember, because we aren't storing any waves yet. sign in as me, and I'm going to log into acmewave.com. So that's my Acme Wave. Some other waves. Cool. Let's see if this works. So I'm going to create a new wave. And on my server, it's going to say it's sending discovery requests for acmewave.com. And this is the stressful moment where it's probably going to break. And it's doing something. It might be a good thing. I don't think it is. No, it doesn't look like it's working. And I suspect if I go in here, no, it's not working. No, it's not connecting to acmewave.com. I'm going to try wavesandbox.com because that might work. Yeah, I don't know what those errors mean. I suspect this is not going to work. I suspect I've forgotten some little step. Yep, it's not working. All right, so if it doesn't work, in the likely event that it doesn't work, here are some things that you can do because I was mucking around with this a while. So first of all, I want to check to make sure that my wave server is actually talking to my local Java server, my local XMPP server. So I'm going to become the root user again, and there's some log files that the XMPP server generates. So if I look at /var/log/procity/procity.log, then it's going to say that I started up, and then it should say some things saying I connected to the wave server that you've just configured, but it's not. So this is where the problem is. My wave server isn't talking to the Java server.
It looks like it shut down completely.
Oh, yeah, it looks like it didn't start up again. It's not giving me any logging information.
Try running it just as a foreground process. That'll give you a lot more.
Try what? Sorry? Stop and start? No, I'm still not getting anything. How do I run it as a... Will it automatically pick up its configuration files? Error. Danger, Will Robinson. Ow.
There you go. It hasn't been, you haven't had a...
So I'm going to let my user be able to read the procity config file. Sorry? Oh, it's A+R, yes. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Permission denied, accessing its config file. Alright, so this is the demo gods. It should work for you though.
Just Chmod 777.
No, X, plus X.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I should just be able to go to that.
-r is the subdirectory.
Alright. Setting data path to valid procity. So I might not actually get logging now because I might not have permission to write to the log files as well. Yeah, I don't. Maybe this will work, maybe it won't. Okay, well, it looks like Prosody is not working for me today. That's sad. I will try for one more brief moment, and failing that, we'll give up. But that should work for you guys. So we've got a session this afternoon where we've got a session after everything this afternoon. So if you want to get your server working, or if your server doesn't work, then you can come to either me. Soren's also a master at all of this stuff, and you can ask us about how to make Federation work properly. It was working yesterday, and it was working this morning as well with my old configuration file. Actually, I'm going to try one last thing, and maybe this will work, maybe it won't. And if it doesn't, either way, we'll go for lunch afterwards. So I think this configuration file might be bad. I might have done something wrong.
Soren, was it you who put the Ackenwave config up on the mailing list?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a known good configuration, so you might want to be able to grab that and just edit it to your requirements.
Yep. So here's a Prosody configuration file I prepared earlier, and let's give that a try. That's better. That's much better. It usually doesn't print out the debugging information. I might have done something wrong. I'll share with you guys these good configuration files that I've made and as well, and you can use them to base off your configuration files if you want to. Is Prosody running now? Yes, it is. If I cat var log prosody, prosody.log. Hello and welcome to Prosody. Cool. We might be working now. Run server. So I'm also going to run this in a screen session. So in the unlikely event that it works, then I can disconnect from this. I can just close this terminal and it'll keep on running after. So this is Wave in a Box starting up. And in another console, I'm going to say cat var log prosody.log. And it says it disconnected. It successfully demonized. It got a Jabber connection, and wave.wavebang.com authentication failed. My secret's probably wrong in that configuration file. Absolutely right. I'm sorry for keeping you guys. So this is the state of setting up Wave in a Box and getting Federation working at the moment. So we hope to do a whole bunch of stuff to make this much nicer soon.
If anybody wants to write a script that'll run at the start that'll allow us to just enter in these things, it'll be great.
Yeah. Come on. Component authentication successful. All right, I'm going to try. Come on. There we go. All right, so sign in as me. Let's create a new wave. Oops, that was me. And in our logs, we say discovery request is doing something. No good. Sometimes it takes a little while before it pops up anyway. But it looks like it's not talking to acmewave.com, which is sad. Anyway, we're very close, and it's probably only a small change, and I can show you guys later when I fix that. But that's setting up Wave in a Box. So hands up everyone who's going to get it working or has it working on their laptops. Yeah. Oh, hands up people who've got it working on their laptop already. Have Wave in a Box working. Not Federation, just the server. Cool, that's a whole lot of people. So the people who have your hands down, keep your hands up. Okay, the people who have your hands down, look around the room. all of these people can help you set it up if you need to. Talk to James and talk to Anthony Watkins if you want to set it up on Windows. I don't have Windows here, so even if I could help you a lot, I can't show you things. And but yeah, so all these people can help you get it all set up and working, which is great.
You might want to turn around.
Someone moderated.
Oh, that's acmewave.com, unfortunately. I'm sorry, get your hopes up. Yeah, I can try again with Wave Sandbox. This is a long shot now. No, it's not. I'm not happy. Error code undefined condition. So yeah, so we want to make this all a lot easier and make this a lot better. And if you guys get Federation working, then show us, send us your config files, help us out. This would be great, and we can make this server a lot better. It's still very much early stages, so yeah, get involved. But that's me done. I think there's lunch at the back of the room, and I'm going to hand it over to Pamela.
Yep. Thanks, Seth.